East of the Sacramento Mountain Range in southeastern New Mexico, an unlikely trout stream winds gently through the high desert plain. Cool, clear water bubbles up from the ground just south of Cloudcroft and forms a natural spring creek called the Rio Penasco, which dips in and out of the desert ground for 40 miles across the Pecos River watershed. Mesilla Valley Flyfishers of Las Cruces, New Mexico, hold a fishing lease at Runyan Ranch about 8 miles east of Elk. A lucky angler can spend a whole day wandering up and down the stream, casting flies to German browns and rainbow trout in small eddies and clear pools, surrounded only by nature and the occasional band of horses that wander down to the shallow stream for a quick drink. On my first day fly fishing the Rio Penasco, I used an access point that is about 3/4 mile drive down the road to the east, and then a short walk from the parking area down to a shallow riffle where you can easily cross the creek with minimal water depth of about 3 to 6 inches.
This looks like a pretty good area. I've walked about a half a mile. I haven't seen any fish yet. But now we're to some falls, so I'm hoping maybe there's more fish in here. Maybe the cattle don't get in this part of the river as much. Plus it's got some deeper holes and stuff. It's really pretty. Even if I don't catch a single fish, it's still a beautiful walk.
It was in this clear pool with cascading falls where I hooked my first Rio Penasco trout. It was small, maybe 10 to 12 inches, but put up a decent fight for my TFO 4-weight after eating the copper john I had tied below the green drake nymph pattern. I caught a decent glimpse of its rainbow stripe before it turned hard and dove deep into the pool and out of sight, knocking my hook loose in the process. The one fish I did land this day was called a chub, which is an invasive species to the Rio Penasco, and they tell you to throw it up on the bank and kill it in order to keep it from overpopulating and crowding out the trout. Despite my unproductive fishing this first day, the scenery was beautiful and the hike through the mostly open ranchland enjoyable. On the walk back to the parking area, I got a close-up view of some beautiful bay horses that wandered down to the creek for a drink of cool, clean water. I made a second trip to the Rio Penasco, and I crossed the mountains along the same route, passing through Cloudcroft once again. The patchy snow at elevation, which gave the mountains the appearance of a calico pony just 2 days before, was now gone, leaving only the dormant brown grasses of late fall. The ranch manager, Jim Ellett, stopped by my Jeep to chat while I set up. He gave me directions to the access point right behind the ranch house, which was a quick walk through a steel cattle gate, then along a worn path through a grove of trees, and down to the location where a small bridge once stood.
Very beautiful little spring creek. This is the spot where I caught my first rainbow and landed it here. Unfortunately, I got it up on the bank and it got off the hook and flipped down the bank back into the water. Kicking myself for not having my net ready. I'll try again though. I've given it a second to cool off.
It was a generous spot though, and provided me with several more bumps and finally a take that I was able to land with my net. I now held in my hand another wild rainbow, about 10 inches long with beautiful coloring of olive green, brown-black spots, a salmon-pink stripe, and blushing gills.
So I caught my first rainbow just upstream from the bridge there. Actually my first two, but one I didn't get a picture of because it got off of my hook on the bank and then flipped down the bank back into the water. But there's some nice looking holes down here, so I'm gonna go see what I can do.
We always hope to catch the fish that takes the trophy for size or gives us a fight that we can brag about at our next fly fishing club meeting. But I know in my heart that the little rainbow in my hand this day would have taken the award for cuteness. That adorable trout would be my last of the trip. I caught several more invasive chubs along the way, which I dutifully tossed up on the bank to die, as I was instructed. It was not a task I enjoyed, but I understood why it must be done. With the sun now directly above me, the road called. I pulled out onto Highway 82 and headed east towards Texas. With one last glance at the ranch growing smaller in my rearview mirror, I knew I would go back again someday when the large stock trout prowled the creek looking for my fly.